So Emma, thanks first of all for doing this for us. It'll be really helpful to kind of other students that are thinking about placements and stuff. So before we get into the detail, can you just introduce yourself, tell everybody what course you're studying and where you did your placement, please?
Yes, so I'm Emma. I am currently just finishing my human biology course, and I did my placement at the University of Sheffield.
Brilliant, thank you very much for that. So University of Sheffield, what did they do? What was your role? What was your role there?
So I was in like the Bateson Centre, which is a research department that looks at sort of animal models and researching around those. So mine was specifically zebrafish, and I was working in Dr. Henrique's lab, and we were looking at sort of aging as a whole organism and how that affects. We focused on gut and brain, but it was the whole body.
Wow, I've learned a lot there. Zebrafish, I've never even heard of a zebrafish to start with. That sounds really interesting. So what kind of things on a day-to-day basis did you get involved with?
So it was really varied. Some days it was more like lab maintenance, so we'd have like sort of like taking the glassware to the autoclave or just doing sort of tip refills, and then other days it would be more project based, because my supervisor gave me a project like halfway through that was solely just mine, and I would just do that. I could help other people as well, but it was like that was my sort of thing to do, so I would plan, troubleshoot, and just carry out all of the stuff to do with that.
Oh wow, that sounds like, say, there's a bit of structure there, a bit of variety, but I mean that project element sounds really good that they gave you halfway through. I guess that was to give you a bit more, I don't know, autonomy, leadership on your own kind of area and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, sounds really good that. So was there anything that you did that surprised you or that you didn't expect to get involved in that you ended up getting involved in? I guess maybe the project was one of those, but was there anything else, or do you want to talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely project, but also we as a lab joined sort of groups with these other labs, and we'd all go to these meetings, and then my supervisor came to me one day and was like, I want you to present in this meeting your project. So I was like, oh, okay. So I had like, I think it was like 2 months to prepare for it, and it was sort of, I was doing the research as I was preparing my PowerPoint for it at the same time, so it was sort of not hard to balance it, but if things weren't going right in the lab, it was sort of messing with my PowerPoint. But then it was really good once I actually presented, and everyone seemed to like it, and they sort of would give you like tips on how to fix things that weren't working quite well, which is really good because they were all like proper researchers in a lab.
Oh, okay, so that's kind of like a good real world experience, isn't it? Something that you might expect in the real world, like presenting your research and getting feedback from peers and stuff. So, although I imagine that was probably like a bit daunting at first when you were given the task.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but equally, I guess in the end, really good experience of, like, say, presenting and that kind of environment. Yeah, really good. So why did you choose that organisation in particular for your placement?
So I wanted to stay in Sheffield. Like, I didn't want to move. I just wanted to sort of stay where I knew. So I was looking at Sheffield places to start with, and then obviously I wanted to be some sort of researcher. So I was looking into that, and I was thinking University of Sheffield does a lot of different types of research. Like obviously Hallam does research as well. But I was just thinking that could be a little change rather than staying at Hallam. I can go a little bit further out and do research there. So yeah.
And then I guess building on that and thinking about, I guess, your initial kind of recruitment and looking for a placement, how did you find the whole searching for a placement and applying for one?
As they started coming through on, we were using Handshake. I'm not sure if that's what people use now, but as they started coming through, there wasn't many in Sheffield, so I didn't look straight away. But then once I looked, there was a few at University of Sheffield, so I applied for that one first, and that's the one I got the interview for.
Oh wow, so like successful kind of straight off the bat, which is good.
Yeah, and then I ended up, I think it was like a few weeks, and I got an email saying that I got it, so it was the first one I applied for.
Wow, that's really good. Really like, well, you must have done lots of preparation, I guess. How did you prepare for the interview and things like that?
On the application, there was some like extra reading we could do, so I like made sure I'd read all them. And then for the interview, it was actually like a group interview with, I think there was 4 or 5 people, and it was like we'd go around and everyone would present like some sort of experiment they'd done like in a Hallam lab.
Okay.
And I think the aim of the presentation was more what didn't go so well and how we improved it. So I made sure to really key in on those things rather than just talking about the experiments.
Yeah. And did you get that? Like, say, you seem to notice that that's what they wanted to talk about. Did you, I guess, get that from the information they sent you, or just carefully read it, or just anticipated that's what they want to know?
I think it was just that I'd read it and seen it, but I think it was also
Yeah.
worded in a way that sort of did hint that that was the important bit of it. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's what we
No.
want.
Okay, that's a really good tip then, I guess. Attention to detail when like they're asking you to prep certain things for interviews
Yeah.
and stuff. Okay, so thinking about kind of what you got out of your placement, how do you say it developed you personally, professionally?
I'd say the like biggest thing that I've probably developed is confidence, because obviously
Mhm.
with COVID coming in
Yeah.
beforehand, I'd not done many labs and things, and I just, as soon as I was in a lab, I wasn't comfortable. I didn't enjoy it. I was like, I'm not going to enjoy a job in a lab if I don't get used to labs. So I
Mhm.
was like, it's got to be in a lab. I went in, and at the beginning, it was quite scary because obviously there's this lab that you've never been in before, but the supervisor and the other person who worked in the lab were really nice, and yeah, just
That's
massively
good.
confidence.
Yeah. Well, that always helps as well, like say when you've got kind of really nice people that you're working with. I think generally a lot of
Yeah,
students kind of say that sometimes the fear of working with people, but actually everyone's really nice and kind of want the
yeah.
best for you and stuff. So that's good. What kind of other skills you developed on placement then, do you think?
I would say all sorts of skills, presentation skills,
Mhm.
timekeeping, definitely with it, with me having my own project, I'd have to like make sure that I'd done the experiments
Yeah.
like fully in the day. So I'd have
Mhm.
to make sure I'd started them early enough. Yeah, just for all sorts of like soft skills basically as well.
Yeah.
Like communication between other people.
Yeah, I guess all that I like to say will help you in the future, whatever it is you decide to end up going on to doing and stuff. Um, so would you recommend doing a placement to other students?
Definitely. I think even if it's something that they don't think, or like I could just get through uni quicker by not doing it, I think
Mm-hmm.
it would be harder to get a job afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
because the like how I feel as a person now compared to how I felt before placement, even without having it on my CV that I've done a placement, I feel like as a person I seem a lot more employable with my confidence and just other skills that I didn't have before or didn't have very much of.
Yeah, that's really, really great to hear that. And I guess what have you brought back from your placement that might be helping you in your final year now? Like some of those skills that you've mentioned, I guess, and that person you are now, is it helping you in your final year, do you think?
I think because how the final year's sort of laid out, it's not helped me as much in the first half, but I think in the second half when I do my research project, the organisation that I've had to
Mhm.
have in my placement will help a lot because it'll be independent lab stuff again. And I just
Okay.
think that's exactly what I was doing on placement.
Yeah, so very similar to your project in terms of like how you're going to
Yeah.
structure it with like setting a goal, I guess, being organized, time management and all that. Yeah,
Yeah.
really good. And do you know what you're looking to do after graduation at all?
So I'm planning to apply to the STP to become a clinical scientist in genomics.
Okay.
It's really competitive, so it's got quite a like hard sort of application and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
hope,
So scientist training program for anyone that wasn't familiar with STP, but
yeah,
yeah, we briefly talked about that, didn't we, before we kind of started the interview. I think, like say, having a placement year, if you're wanting to do something like that, and having that project and independent research and all that really does help in terms of evidence to talk about in interviews and applications and stuff like that. So yeah, I wish you the best of luck with the STP, and obviously if you need anything, just come back to us at any point. Um, is there any, just I guess, final point then, is there any tips or advice that you'd give to other students that are, I guess, thinking about doing a placement or currently looking for one?
well, I'd say to start with, obviously, if you're thinking about doing one, definitely do one.
Hmm.
But other than that, I'd say if they've given you information on their like application thing, to read through it really carefully and see what they're actually asking of you, because that is probably what got me my placement quick. Because I'd like read through it, made sure I'd been like, this is what they want, this is what they want. and gone for it like that. I think if I would have just skimmed over it and been like, oh, they just want a cover letter or something, I would have not been as prepared.
Yeah, yeah, sounds like that's very good advice, and for someone that kind of got through it first time with those tips, I think that's really, really useful to pass on. So thanks for that, Emma. Is there anything else that I've not covered that you want to mention at all? Anything else that we've not talked about?
No, I think that's
No, that's it.
perfect.
Super. Well, thank you so much for giving that insight. I think students will find it really useful.